Hello, everyone, and welcome to VinTech. Today we're going to be taking a look, as you can see, at the iPhone SE. I actually just got this phone to go along with my new MacBook, and we're going to be taking a look at the phone itself and how it interacts with the MacBook. So first, let's get started here. And the fingerprint sensor, that's the first thing we'll touch on. That seems to be working. That's one thing that I have really enjoyed being able to use just over the past couple of days, because my previous phone, the LG G4, did not have it. And that was something that I always wished it had, so that's pretty nice to have here. Now, as you can see on my home screen here, we've got in alphabetical order all of my apps and then all of my folders. So we've got the App Store, the camera, the clock, contacts, FaceTime. Learn is a very interesting app. If I may take a moment here, it actually will teach you how to code in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, and the app itself is free. Some of these other languages you may have to pay to learn in this app, but the app itself is free, so that's pretty nice to have. This is the multitasking view here, so why don't I go ahead and open up multiple things. The clock here, contacts going, photos. Okay, so if I double tap the home button here, you can actually see all of this stuff here, all the other apps that I have open, and you can pick from them. So I want to go here, I want to go to my alarm clock, I can go here, and boom, I select, oh no, I hit the wrong one, and alarm clock, so I can set my alarm. I don't know, I like the multitasking here. It's something that they've definitely improved since the early days. Android had it first, but anymore I think other than doing split window, I think iOS does it a little bit better in terms of at least making it seem like the apps are all still open even if they're not. So let's move on past Learn here. We've got Messenger. Everybody seems to know what Facebook Messenger is, of course. Music, the music app here is actually pretty cool. I believe Apple Music and iPod or iTunes or whatever iPod, iTunes has been replaced by Apple Music, which to me is not bad. It's a nice app here. I like this business here where you can be listening to the music and then just swipe down, take a look at all of your music here, and then of course you can select by letter over by on the right hand side, and then swipe back up and you can look at where you're at, favorite it and all that business. So that's pretty cool. I like that app. And then of course I've got Netflix. Everybody uses Netflix. It's a great app for watching TV on the internet and all of that. The Photos app is pretty cool. It just operates like any other Photos app, other than the fact that you can see different collections. So right now we're in location years. You can see, okay, these were taken in 2016. These were taken in, so that's pretty cool. The Settings app. This has always been something that I have had mixed feelings about. I'm used to being an Android user. In Android, you would go into whatever app you want to use. So say I want to use YouTube, and I'm used to being able to go in here and hit, go to settings. It'll bring up my settings. Okay, well, the problem is, because that's a Google app, it does that, sure, no problem. But what if I want my App Store settings? Well, that's my wish list. Those aren't settings. Um, Categories, top charts, nothing. There's nothing about settings in there. And that is because on iOS, specifically the Apple apps anyway, are all handled within the one settings app. You can see here iTunes and App Store, all of that, the mail, contacts, calendars, stuff like that. Safari, news, music, videos, photos, iBook, and even some of the other stuff that I've got installed in here. You handle the settings through the settings app instead of through the app itself, which is, again, kind of a mixed thing for me. I like that it's all kind of centralized, but I also would rather be able to get to it from the app as well. So, it's all right. The YouTube app seems to work great. The iPhone SE actually just has all the same innards as the iPhone 6s. It's just in the body of the 5s. It's got the same camera, it's got the same processor, it's got the same 2 gig of RAM, it's got the same A9 processor and M9 coprocessor, the gyroscope thing. So yeah, all the effects and all the quick, all the transitions and everything seems to be working very, very smoothly and delivering a very positive experience, which is surprising coming from Android. I did not expect to enjoy the experience as much as I have, but so far I have. Here in this first folder, I've got common apps that I use. Basically, they're just common apps that I don't want to have on my home screen. So we have calendar, maps, videos, wallet, iTunes, iBooks, notes, calculator, and iCloud Drive. I will eventually go through and alphabetize these, but since I don't get in here all that often, it's just an extra folder. I won't worry about it too much. These are mostly just the Apple extras that they put in here that I don't really use. I could see myself using the voice memos thing at some point, but there's not really too big of a need for any of that stuff. Entertainment, just games and other stuff like that. I've got Action Movie, which is just an app that makes it look like stuff is exploding. Of course, I've got Pokemon Go on here. Don't really play it all that often, but it's good to have on there. And iFunny I've got on there just in case I need to be scrolling through some memes or something. Media is pretty cool. I've got GarageBand and iMovie came on here. iMovie operates fantastically on this screen, especially because it's it's a smaller screen. Granted, that's fine. But because it's a smaller screen, the processor has to work less hard to push all the pixels, and it can handle video that's of a higher resolution. You could edit 4K video if you really wanted to on this phone, and that's super, super impressive to me. Over here we've got music. I've got Spotify and Pandora, as well as the Apple Music app back up there, so we don't really need to hit too heavy on that one. Productivity. This is sweet to me. We've got Keynote, Pages, and Numbers. I also got Outlook. That's just because my school email operates through Outlook, and it's not a Gmail type deal. So if I go into Pages, this is almost a full-fledged desktop app. I'm just blown away by some of the stuff that you can do. You can create a document, if you want to go on through here. We can do a for sale flyer, small poster, photo poster, small. So if we click that, we've got the full app here. We can go in here and see, zoom in and all that. And it's add a photo here if I want to. I can take a screenshot. Let's just throw the screenshot of my phone in there, and we can select and move it. We could move it around if we really wanted to. I mean, there's no reason to, but it's a nice app. I enjoy this. I don't need to save this for any reason. I'm not going to use that, but Numbers is super impressive. It's a freaking spreadsheet. You make spreadsheets. It's not a common thing really very often to make spreadsheets on your phone unless you're using maybe using Google Drive to use their spreadsheet service, but in general, it's really not too common of a thing to see people making spreadsheets on their phone. So I think it's kind of impressive that Apple has done it in such a way that you literally can just straight up have spreadsheets on your phone, and it works just like it would on a desktop. And over here in the next folder, we've got social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all your, the common social media applications. The only thing I'm missing is Twitter. That's because I don't really use it too often. I plan to be using it a little bit more often with the channel update and all that business, but for right now, that's all I use really. Then I've got the weather down here. Weather, this is the default weather application for iOS, and the my weather app of choice is AccuWeather, and it just lets you do. And right now, I actually just installed it, so it's not set up quite yet. But I do enjoy the fact that I can, have the variety of different things. This is not one of the big things iOS is that the App Store is just truly saturated with tons of great apps that I can use to do multiple different things. And the same is true for Android. But there are certain differences here that I think people kind of overlook. I mean, people give Apple a lot of flack for the choices that they have made in the past on screen size. And to be totally honest, 4 inches, while it is not it really truly is not the best option for consuming media, watching movies, watching YouTube, stuff like that. It is perfectly usable as a smartphone, for sure. I like being able to reach everything with one finger. I like not having to stretch my hand all the way across my phone like I did with my G4. And you know what? If I really need to be watching something on a bigger screen, I can pop open my laptop. I can watch Netflix there. I can watch YouTube there. I can, you know what I mean? Like, it's, it would be better to have this in a bigger size. But you'd be trading off being able to reach everything all the time. So it's kind of it's a give and take. Now the other deal that is a big issue for a lot of people is the fact that you really can't customize this too much. Basically, where the customization ends is being able to choose an app and pick it up and move it around and stick it wherever you want to stick it, but I don't really want to do that. I don't, I arrange it once and I don't need to change it too much. And then of course you can go in, you can change your wallpaper. One of the other wallpapers that I was using, which I don't actually have saved on the phone anymore, but there's all of these you can choose from, and I just thought this one was kind of nice. I selected it partially because I wanted my phone's battery to last longer, and the dark wallpapers usually help with that. But yeah, that's one of the things that it definitely trails when it comes to the comparison between iOS and Android. Android you can customize quite a bit more, and there's no widgets on here either. They tell you that there are, but this little news thing here is not a widget. I mean, and if it were truly a widget, it would be here on the home screen somewhere. But you know what? Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, one thing that is nice about this particular phone is the camera. It's a little dark in this room here, but the camera itself is actually fairly good. And you can see here, the thing that's impressive is just how quickly it goes from one thing to the other. So we've got the room here, and now we've got the recording on the laptop. And that's That's actually kind of cool. You get the crazy tunnel vision thing there, but yep. And then here's the actual laptop that I'm using to record this, and it's one of those things where because we're in kind of a dimly lit room, that the camera's not going to look super great, but it does capture more than a lot of Android phones do, so I got to give it credit for that. And of course, you can switch high dynamic range. I usually keep that on auto. Flash, timed photography, the selfie cam. Then we can go over here and record a video if you really wanted to. You can now you're actually getting 60 frames per second, so that's actually kind of nice. Oh yeah, no, I like the way that looks actually. That's a pretty nice camera for just recording. I like that quite a bit. Of course, your slow motion camera. I only use that once, I believe. Then your time lapse camera. It's the same deal backwards. Square and panorama. So it's it's a nice camera, all things considered. I mean, the biggest allure for this phone to me was that. So I got this MacBook Pro. Just dropped tons of money on that. I'd like a phone that can communicate with it in such a way that I don't have to worry too much about, I want to be able to just plug the thing in and transfer files over and vice versa. And you can't really do that with an Android phone. You got to get a separate app. There's an Android Files app thing that you got to install. With this, everything just works. I can honestly say that in order to get any kind of screen recording on an Android phone, I would have to plug it into this Mac and run Android tools through the terminal to do it. And that is the only reason that I haven't done one yet. What I had to do to record this video with this phone was to go into QuickTime on my laptop and just select my phone as the camera that I use instead of a camera with a new movie recording. So, everything just kind of, it all talks to each other, and it's very convergent. And, a lot of people are kind of afraid of that, but really, truly, I don't think there's any reason to be. So, all things considered, iOS kind of knows what they're doing. I gotta give them credit. It's a little restrictive. I wish that I could customize it a little bit more. I wish that I could do widgets. But if I have to trade that stuff for this just silky smooth interface and communication between the phone and the laptop and every other thing, then you know what? Honestly, it's not that big of a trade-off for me. This phone, through my phone carrier, was $50. $50 for a miniature iPhone 6s, which is, by the way, $199 for the 16 gig version. This $50 phone is a 64 gig model. That was what sold me. This is a 64 gig phone, and I paid $50 for it. That's an incredible deal, and Apple certainly knows what they're doing when it comes to marketing. This is truly a genius move on their part, in terms of marketing anyway. But other than that, you know what? This phone, it's not a bad deal. It's pretty good, pretty solid. So, if you're thinking about switching over from Android to iOS, if you're thinking about just getting a new phone on the cheap, a good, solid phone with a high storage capacity for cheap, consider the iPhone SE. It's an attractive phone. It's little, granted, but you know what? Battery life seems to be okay. The storage is good. The screen resolution is good. The experience is good. The innards are good. Why not? So, anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I appreciate you sticking around till the end of it. And I will see you